The wind howled across the burned ruins of the old alien village. Human soldier. Dax Reader stepped carefully over the broken ground. His boots crunched on ash and shattered metal. He held his plasma rifle tightly. This place was quiet, too quiet. He had come alone. The mission was simple. Check the old war zone for leftover tech. Salvage what he could. Sell it. Maybe make enough credits to repair his ship. But something felt wrong here. There were signs of life, small footprints, food scraps, even a faint heat signal. Someone was hiding in the ruins. As Dax walked past a half-collapsed wall, he froze. A sound, a whisper, like a whimper, reached his ears. It was not wind. He turned slowly, gun raised. Then, from behind a pile of rubble, a thin alien woman crawled out. Her skin was pale purple, covered in dust and cuts. Her dress was torn, barely hanging on her starved body. Two small alien children clung to her legs. Their big, glowing eyes stared up at Dax, scared, hungry, and silent. The woman looked up at the human with trembling lips. "Please," she whispered. Her voice cracked with dryness. "They're starving. Take them." Dax's heart thumped. He lowered his gun slightly, confused. "Who are you?" he asked. "What happened here?" The woman tried to speak but collapsed. She hit the ground hard, gasping for breath. The children cried softly, holding her arms. One of them looked up at Dax and said in a tiny voice, she said, "A human might help us." Dax cursed under his breath. This wasn't what he signed up for. Still, he knelt down. The woman was burning with fever. Her skin was cold and damp. She had no weapons, no strength. He gave her a sip of his water. Her cracked lips moved slowly as she drank. Dax looked at the children, maybe 6 or 7 years old. Both were skinny. One had a torn blanket wrapped around his shoulders. The girl wore a chain collar, rusted and broken. "What's your name?" Dax asked gently. The woman coughed and said, "Zara, I'm widow." She struggled to lift her head. "I have no food. No home. My husband died in the war. No one wants a widow with children." Dax's jaw tightened. He had seen many horrors in the war, but this was different. This was raw survival. "I'm not here to hurt you," he said. "Can you walk?" Zara shook her head weakly. "I only came out because I saw your ship. Please, don't leave them. Take them with you. Be their father. Be my mate. I will serve you. I have nothing else left." Dax was shocked. "Mate? Wait, what?" She looked at him with hollow, tired eyes. "On my world, if a widow finds a male willing to accept her children, she offers herself completely." Dax didn't answer. His heart was heavy. He didn't know these people. He didn't plan to get involved. But when he looked into those children's eyes, he saw something he couldn't ignore: hope. Just a little. Just enough. Then, suddenly, a noise echoed from the shadows. Growled. Dax stood up fast, gun raised. "Stay behind me," he said sharply. He scanned the ruins. Something moved, something large, slithering across the broken stone. Zara's eyes widened in fear. "It's still here. The beast that eats the weak." Dax cursed again. "Perfect." He scooped up Zara in one arm and grabbed the children's hands. "Hold tight. We're leaving." They ran through the narrow ruins, dust flying around them. The growling came closer. A shadow moved behind them, fast and low. Dax reached his ship, slammed the ramp button. It opened with a hiss. He tossed the woman and children inside and turned to face the dark. He couldn't see the creature clearly, but he saw the red eyes. "Back off!" Dax shouted, firing a warning shot. The creature paused, then slowly backed into the darkness. Dax ran up the ramp and slammed it shut. Inside the ship, Zara lay on the floor, breathing hard. The children huddled close to her. Dax stared at them, breathing heavily. He had only come here for scrap, but now he had passengers, maybe even a family. He wasn't ready for this, but he couldn't turn back now. Asterisk. The ship's engines hummed softly as it drifted through space, away from the ruined planet. Inside the small medical bay, the silence was broken only by the quiet breathing of 3 frightened souls and the slow, confused steps of a human who didn't expect to be a savior. Dax stood at the doorway, watching the alien family. He held a protein bar in one hand, still unopened. Zhara, the widow, sat on the floor with her back against the wall. Her knees were pulled up to her chest. Her head hung low. The 2 children curled beside her like frightened animals, too tired to cry but too scared to sleep. They hadn't spoken since escaping. Dax stepped forward. He knelt and offered the food bar. "You need to eat," he said quietly. Zara didn't take it. She shook her head. "Let the children eat first," she whispered. The little girl peeked out from behind her mother's shoulder. She reached forward, hesitated, then snatched the bar and pulled it close to her chest. Dax unwrapped another and gave it to the boy. The moment he took the first bite, his eyes watered with shock. His mouth hadn't tasted real food in days. Zara watched them with relief and pain. "You still haven't eaten," Dax said again. She turned her head away. "I am a widow," she said softly. "I do not eat before my mate and children." "I'm not your mate," Dax replied. She slowly looked up at him. "Not yet." The words hung in the air. Dax stood and rubbed the back of his neck. This wasn't how his day was supposed to go. He was a salvage pilot, not a husband, not a father, not a hero. He sat down across from her. "Why me?" he asked. "Why would you choose a human you just met?" Zara took a slow breath. "My people, they call me cursed. My husband died in battle. My children were born during war. I tried to sell everything I had to feed them. My last coin, my last jewel, even my hair." She touched her short, uneven strands. "But no one wanted a widow. No one wanted children. They said I was used, worthless." Dax said nothing. "I heard a rumor," she continued, "that humans are strange, that some of them take in orphans, that some treat mates as equals." She looked up at him again. "I didn't believe it until I saw you shoot at the beast." Instead of running, Dax let out a slow sigh. "I didn't come here to find a family. I didn't come here to beg," she answered. "But hunger has no pride, and I will crawl if I must for my children to live." Just then, the little boy leaned against Dax's arm, chewing slowly. He mumbled, "Thank you, Papa." Dax froze. Zara's eyes widened. "No, don't call him that." But the boy smiled sleepily. "He saved us. He's strong, like Papa used to be." The room fell silent. Dax didn't correct him. Outside the ship, the stars drifted by. Inside, a strange warmth began to grow in Dax's chest. A warmth he didn't expect, but it didn't last long. Suddenly, the ship's lights flickered. Beep. Beep. A red warning flashed on the console. Dax jumped to his feet and ran to the cockpit. Incoming signal. Tracked. He stared at the screen. A ship had locked onto them, not human. Alien bounty hunters. A message appeared. "You are carrying stolen property. Hand over the widow and children or face consequences." Dax's fist tightened. Stolen property? They're people. He glanced back at the medical bay. Zara was hugging her children tightly. She had seen the alert. She knew what it meant. She stood, walked into the cockpit, and bowed her head. "I'll go," she said. "If I return to them, they won't kill." "The children." Dax looked at her, shocked. "You want to walk back into slavery?" "I want my children to live." "No," Dax said firmly. "They're with me now. And so are you." Zara's voice trembled. "They will hunt us forever." "Then let them come," Dax growled. "I've faced worse than bounty scum." For the first time, Zara looked at him, not with fear, not with shame, but with something else. Hope. And in that moment, the widow who had nothing left, the mother who begged in the dust, stood just a little taller, but outside, in the blackness of space, the hunter ship moved closer, and this fight was far from over. Zara didn't sleep. She sat alone on the edge of the bed in Dax's ship, her thin hands resting on her lap. The lights were dim, the air quiet. The children were asleep in the next room, safe, warm, and with full stomachs for the first time in weeks. But Zara, she only stared at her reflection in the metal wall. She looked like a ghost, a widow, a beggar, and she hated it. In the cockpit, Dax watched the stars ahead, but his mind was behind on the alien woman and her children. Now in his care, he wasn't supposed to care. He was supposed to finish his salvage run and go home. That was the plan, but the way those kids had clung to him, the way she had offered herself not with desire, but with complete desperation, it haunted him. The next morning, Dax brought warm food. Zara was awake, sitting silently, her eyes still hollow. He placed the tray beside her. "Eat something, please." She looked at it, then at him. "Why do you keep helping us?" Dax shrugged. "Maybe because no one else did." A long silence filled the room. Then softly Zara began to speak. "I was once respected. My husband, Kale, was a warrior. Strong, kind. He'd built our home with his own hands. When war came, he left to fight and never returned. The same day I got the death notice, raiders came. They burned our village, took what they wanted. I ran with my babies. No one opened their doors. I begged for work, for food, even for a chance to clean floors. But everywhere I went, they said the same thing. A widow with children is a burden. A woman with no man is no one. I sold everything. My ring, my necklace, even my hair. My body was the last thing I had left. But no one wanted a broken widow with hungry mouths." Tears fell, silent and slow. "I didn't want a mate," she whispered. "I wanted mercy." Dax felt a cold weight in his chest. "You're not broken," he said. "You survived what most couldn't." Zara looked at him, surprised. "You're feeding them. You protected them. That's strength." "But," she shook her head, "it's weakness, human. I begged you to be my mate. I begged you to take them. I lost all pride." "You didn't lose anything," Dax said quietly. "You gave everything you had left for them. That's not weakness. That's love." Suddenly a sharp beep cut. Through the moment, Dax stood and ran to the cockpit. The tracker alert was flashing again. The enemy ship had locked onto them again. Despite their jump to a new sector, how did they find us so fast? He muttered. The signal wasn't just close. It was too close. Zara came in, holding her children by the hand. Her eyes fell on the red screen. "I told you," she said in a flat voice. "They will never stop. I am worth money to them. Not for who I am, but for what I was." Dax turned to her. "What do you mean?" Zara hesitated. Then she said it. "I wasn't just a widow. I was the bonded wife of a noble warrior from House Rikhtar. When Kale died, they called me spoiled goods, but his enemies saw me as a symbol. Whoever owns me can claim part of his legacy. That's why they want me. Not to help, but to wear me like a trophy." Dax stared at her. It wasn't just about survival anymore. Zara wasn't just some poor mother. She was a key to something larger and far more dangerous. He looked at the children. Their faces were scared again. "No child should live like this. Strap in," Dax said firmly. "They want a trophy? Let's show them what a human does with one." Zara frowned. "What do you mean?" Dax tapped a button. His hidden weapons slid out from the sides of the ship. "I mean we stop running." Outside, the hunter ship moved in. Inside, a human and a broken family prepared to stand together, but none of them knew this fight would change everything. The ship trembled, just slightly, like a beast holding its breath before a roar. Zara stood in the hallway, clutching her children. The metal floor under her bare feet felt cold, even though the ship's heat was on. Dax was silent in the cockpit, his fingers hovering over the controls. Outside, the enemy ship glowed on the screen, a red dot creeping closer. One word blinked on the console. Locked. They were caught. Zara stepped closer. "You can still leave us," she said. Her voice was calm, but her eyes were hollow. "Open the hatch. Give them what they want. You will survive." Dax didn't turn. "I didn't come this far just to throw you out like garbage," he said. "That's what they do." "Not me, but you'll die," she whispered. He finally looked at her. "Maybe, but at least I won't die a coward." The children were shaking. The boy tried to act brave, standing in front of his sister, fists clenched. The little girl clung to her mother's leg, whispering, "Mama, I'm scared." Zara knelt beside them, wrapping her arms around both. "It's okay. Whatever happens, I'll be with you." Dax checked the scanners. The enemy ship had launched a boarding drone. He cursed under his breath. "We're not fast enough to escape. We'll have to hide or fight." Zara's hands tightened. "I'll go," she said again. "Let them take me. But promise me, take the children and run. You're fast. You're clever. You'll keep them alive." Dax stood and walked toward her. His voice was firm now. "You say your people call you broken," he said, "but they're the ones who are rotten. Not you. You're a mother who risked everything. And I won't let the universe punish you for that." She looked up at him, stunned. "Besides," he added, pulling out a strange black device from under the pilot's seat, "this ship isn't just for running. It used to be a smuggler ship. It has secrets." Dax pressed a hidden panel. The wall slid open, revealing a tiny chamber, lined with dark shielding plates and padded seats. "Hide in there with the kids," he said. "They won't detect it. I'll deal with the boarders." Zara looked at the chamber, then at him. "You'll be outnumbered." Dax smiled, but it was the smile of a tired warrior. "Good, makes it fair." She hesitated, then leaned close. "If we die," she said slowly, "thank you for making our last days feel like we mattered." "You're not dying today," Dax replied. "And you're not just someone who mattered. You're family now." Zara climbed into the hidden chamber with the children. She pulled them close, brushing their hair gently. The chamber door sealed shut with a soft hiss. Outside, the ship's power dimmed. Boom. The boarding drone slammed into the airlock. Metal groaned. Steam hissed. Shadows moved behind the door. Dax waited in the hallway, plasma rifle in hand, eyes locked forward. The first bounty hunter stepped through, a tall, four-eyed alien in heavy armor. Behind him came two more. "The ship is carrying stolen property," the leader growled. "Give us the widow and her spawn. We'll let you live." Dax raised his rifle. "You'll have to kill me first," the alien laughed. "Gladly." The hallway lit up with blue fire. Dax moved fast, ducking under their shots. He rolled, fired, and struck one alien in the chest. The body crashed against the wall. A second bounty hunter charged with a shock blade, but Dax kicked over a crate, blocked the attack, and fired point blank. Only the leader remained. "You're good." The alien growled, bleeding from the shoulder. "I'm human." Dax said, and then he fired the last shot. After silence returned, Dax limped to the hidden chamber. He opened it. The children rushed out first, hugging him tight. Zara followed, her eyes full of tears. You fought for us." He gave a weak smile. "Told you, family." She looked at his wounded arm, then pressed her forehead to his chest. "I offered myself to you because I was desperate," she whispered. "But now, I give myself to you by choice." Dax blinked, unsure what to say. Before he could answer, the ship's warning light blinked again. Another message. "More are coming." And this time, it wasn't just bounty hunters. It was House Reektar itself. Blood dripped slowly from Dax's arm, but he didn't flinch. He sat on the floor, surrounded by 3 alien bodies. Smoke still rose from their armor. The hallway lights flickered, casting long shadows across the ship's walls. But Dax wasn't. Looking at the bodies, he was staring at the blinking red alert on the screen. Multiple hostile ships incoming. This wasn't over. This was just the beginning. In the corner of the room, Zara ripped fabric from her dress and wrapped Dax's wound. "You shouldn't have fought alone," she said, voice shaking. "You could have died." "I told you I'm stubborn," he muttered, "especially when someone threatens my family." Her hands stopped moving. Family. That word hit her harder than any weapon ever could. She looked at him, not as a savior this time, but as something more. Behind them, the children peeked out. They hadn't said much since the fight. Then, the little boy Cale Jr., named after his fallen father, stepped forward. "Will they come again?" he asked quietly. Dax nodded. "Yes, and these ones won't wait to knock." The boy frowned. "You protected us. Now I want to protect you." Dax smiled sadly. "That's brave, kid. But this isn't your fight." The boy looked up, eyes firm. "Yes, it is. You're our papa now." Zara gasped softly, but didn't stop him. "I can help," Cale Jr. said. "I remember the codes. My real papa, he taught me something. A signal, a trick to blind enemy ships. I can send it." Dax blinked. "You know how to code a jammer?" The boy nodded. "I think so, but only once. And it'll burn the system." Dax looked at Zara. She was staring at her son, shocked. "My husband must have taught him in secret," she whispered. Dax knelt in front of the boy. "All right, show me." As Cale Jr. tapped into the system, Zara held her daughter close. "You should have left us back there," she said softly to Dax. He didn't turn. "Maybe, but then I wouldn't have met a warrior child. And the strongest mother I've ever known." Suddenly, the scanner beeped 6 ships now. One was massive, royal gold marked House Rikhtar. Zara froze. "That ship, it belongs to Cale's cousin. He's the one who called me defiled. He's the one who said no widow should breathe free." She stood slowly. Her hands trembled, but not from fear, from anger. "He sent me to die. And now he wants to own me." Dax stood beside her. "Not anymore." Just then, Cale Jr. hit enter. The jammer burst to life. Static filled the screen. Enemy ships twisted off course. 2 collided, spinning into space. The others fell back. Confused, the trick had worked, but the console sparked and died. Smoke rose. The boy coughed and fell back into Zara's arms. "You did it," she whispered, holding him close. "You saved us." Dax grabbed his gear. "We have one chance to escape now." Zara stood quickly. "I'm going with you." "No," Dax said. "You stay with the kids." She stepped closer, eyes blazing. "They called me a widow, a burden, a weak female. But you treated me as a warrior." She picked up one of the bounty blades and strapped it to her side. "I'm not hiding anymore." Outside, the enemy flagship was recovering. Inside, a mother, a human, and 2 small children prepared for one final stand or one desperate escape. As Dax powered the engines, he looked over his shoulder and smiled. "The ship might be small, but this family, we're bigger than any empire." The ship was shaking, not from enemy fire this time, but from the power Zara had just awakened. Dax stood in the cockpit, gripping the edge of the control panel, watching in stunned silence. As glowing lines of energy ran up Zara's arms, her eyes were closed. Her lips were moving in a low chant, the words not human, not even common alien dialect. This was something ancient, something sacred, something forbidden. "Zara," Dax called out. "What are you doing?" She didn't stop. Her hands hovered just above Dax's chest, glowing brighter, warmer. Behind them, the children peeked around the corner, frightened but quiet. Even they had never seen this part of their mother before. Zara opened her eyes. They were pure silver. "I am sealing a blood bond," she said, voice echoing with power, "between my soul and yours." Dax stepped back, alarmed. "Wait, what does that mean?" Zara smiled faintly, but her body trembled. "It means, if you die, I die. If I live, you live. It's how my people protected their mates during war, long ago. But why now?" he asked, confused and worried. She looked into his eyes. "Because they will come for you now, Dax, not just for me. You've made me your family. You've made enemies of nobles. They will try to destroy you because you gave shelter to a widow." Her lips trembled. "I cannot let you die alone. So, now we die together, or we survive together." The ship beeped dangerously low energy. Their systems were burning out from the jammer, and they were nearing the edge of an unstable asteroid field. Dax grabbed the controls. "We have to make a blind jump. There's no other way." He looked at her again. "You didn't have to do that." "I wanted to," Zara said, breath short. "You didn't ask for a mate. But you earned one." As Dax prepped the jump, enemy flagship reappeared on the scanner, heading straight toward them, faster than before. They're boosting speed. "We won't make it," Dax muttered. Then a small voice spoke behind him. "I can help," said the little girl. Dax turned. The young child walked forward, holding something in her tiny hands. It was a small crystal, cracked but still glowing faintly. "What's that?" he asked. Zara gasped. "That's my husband's battle crystal. He left it for her, to use in the moment of last hope." "But it's too unstable," she began. The girl looked at her mother. "He told me it would only work if I trusted someone again." "I trust him," she said, pointing to Dax. Dax took the crystal. It pulsed in his hand. Then he placed it into the emergency drive. The ship roared to life. Lights returning, engines stabilizing. Dax shouted, "Everyone hold on." He pulled the lever. The stars bent, and the ship vanished into jump space. Inside the swirling light, Zara leaned against the wall, weak but breathing. Dax crouched beside her. "You okay?" he asked. She nodded, barely. "You didn't have to bind yourself to me," he said quietly. She smiled. "I didn't bind myself to you because I had to. I did it because for the first time since my husband died, I wanted to live." The jump ended. They landed near an empty moon, safe for now, but the bond between them was no longer silent. Now it was sealed by blood, by will, and by something deeper than any vow. The moon was silent. No cities, no signals. Just gray dust, sharp rocks, and a quiet sky. But on the far side of the moon, where no empire had built a flag, a small ship stood like a home, humming with life. Inside it, a family had just found peace, but peace never lasts long when power is watching. Dax stepped outside first. He stood on the dusty surface, helmet on, rifle slung over his shoulder. Behind him, Zara followed, holding the hands of her two children. They looked up at the stars together. For a moment, they were just a man, a woman, and two kids, not a soldier, not a widow, not orphans. Just family. Inside the ship, a signal beeped. It wasn't a threat. It was a voice transmission from Earth Command. "Dax Ryder, you are harboring a known alien widow tied to a royal bloodline. This is in violation of interspecies custody law. Surrender her immediately, or you will be listed as a traitor." Dax didn't answer. He walked inside, sat in the cockpit, and hit record. "This is Dax Ryder," he said, voice steady. "She's not a weapon. She's not property. She's a mother. And if that makes me a traitor, then I wear it with pride." He hit send. Zara stood behind him. Her lips parted slightly. She hadn't expected him to risk everything, not for her, not for a widow whose own people had rejected her. "You just challenged Earth Command," she whispered. He turned to her and said, "No, I challenged a broken system." Hours passed. No ships came. Then, a shadow moved above the moon. A massive Earth battlecruiser entered orbit. Dax stood at the door, weapon ready, but not aimed. He wasn't going to fight today, not unless they forced him. Zara stepped beside him, no fear in her eyes. Only pride. Then, something unexpected happened. A smaller ship detached from the cruiser. It landed gently nearby. The door opened. An old human officer stepped out, wearing medals and scars. He looked at Dax, then at Zara, then at the children, and he did something no one expected. He saluted. "I watched your message," the old man said. "Command wanted to arrest you. Then why are you here alone?" Dax asked. The officer sighed. "Because once, long ago, I took in an alien child from a ruined planet. Raised her like my own." He looked at Zara. "I know what people like you go through. I've seen how pride kills mercy." He opened a pouch and pulled out a small badge. "This says you're protected," he said, handing it to Dax. "Earth law can be rewritten. But family? That's real." Zara couldn't speak. Her children clung to her legs. Dax took the badge, staring at it like it was gold. "Thank you," he said. "No," the officer replied. "Thank you for reminding us who we are." Weeks later, Dax built a home on that same moon. Not a base, not a shelter. A real home. With walls, rooms, a garden. Zara tended the garden with her hands. The children laughed and played in the open. And one night, under the stars, Zara rested her head on Dax's shoulder. "You know," she whispered, "when I begged you to take my children, I never thought you'd take my heart too." He smiled and kissed her forehead. "You gave me a reason to live again." And from the dust of war, from hunger, shame, and rejection, a new family rose, not by blood, not by law, but by choice.